create new. Easy enough. Width, what we're going to do is we're going to do a width of 11 inches. Not that many inches. And it says inches, please. Okay, by 8.5. 8.5. Okay, we're going to do it, obviously, it's going to be in a landscape format. Good. Resolution of 300, that is fine. Leave this alone, RGB, okay. 8-bit, fine. I don't know what that is, white. Okay, okay, great. We're going to create a new. There we are. Okay? So you want to make sure you do that. Now, later on we'll figure it out. You can change your canvas size. You can, if you made a mistake, you can fix it. It's not that big a deal. But for the most part right now, you don't want to do that. Now, there are a couple of things that you want to do. And like for instance in here, view. You want to view, you want to show rulers. Open that up. Now look at that, see? That's in pixels. What in the world? Millimeters. Okay, so what I can do is change that over to inches and just make it inches. See, I'm clicking on the ruler side. Oh, it did both sides. The last version you had to do both. Okay, got it? So that looks at 0, 11, 0, 8.5. Easy? Okay. Now, the first thing we want to do here is let's go ahead and do something. We're going to do some formatting, and I'm going to just show you some basic tools. First thing is you go in, and then you go ahead and you click into the ruler, and it pulls a guideline out. See it? And you can figure out where it is or where it's going to go. Okay? And then let go of it, it'll stay there. If you want, okay, if you go into the cursor, you can pick it up again and move it in the cursor. Here, in the move thing. I suppose that's the cursor. Okay? That's the move. Okay, then what we do then is we can do that. Okay, then I can obviously bring one from up here too. Guidelines. Guidelines are really important, aren't they? And they are the structure underneath the design of everything. You need to obsessively use these to organize your work. Okay? Now, the assignment that we're going to do is going to be to do 2 formats, and it's going to be with the same subject matter, which will be Le Corbusier's Villa Savoye. So you're going to learn a little bit more about the history of it, as well as some of the other views. So you're really obsessively thinking about in these few projects the Villa Savoye. Okay? And what we're going to do is I'm going to put this down for a moment, and then I'm going to go to the internet for a moment. And okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to look for images, okay? So we're going to go, and then I'm going to do plans, okay? And there we go. I'm going to go images. But the way I'm going to use images when I go to Photoshop is I want large images. You don't want tiny images. So under Tools, it's going to say Size. Size, not any size, large. That gets rid of all of the teensy-weensy ones that will be real pixelated and very nasty. Okay? Then what we do is we start looking for stuff. So now we've got some plans, okay, and everything. And what I'm going to do is, this is good practice. Okay, so this is 16 by, okay, that's pretty big. That's great. Oh, actually, this is a good one here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to, Okay, we're gonna take this one, there's the image. I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to copy that image. You can't copy the thumbnail. You have to open it and copy the image, okay? Just remember that. And then what we'll do is, since this is a little smaller, I'm gonna put it over here on the desktop, okay? In a new folder. Called Villa. Okay? And we should be able to, within that, I should be able to, where's paste? Where did paste go? I'll go back. What?
I think you have to go into the folder in that piece. You have to have that.
No. Here, we'll copy that. Copy image. Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Try opening the folder and then
Yeah.
The folder, not the old. Like,
The one on your
go-
desktop.
Go into the folder.
go onto like your desktop screen. No, like just like your plain screen.
If you click the very bottom right corner, it goes to your desktop.
I want that to go away. I've got too many other things open. Okay.
Then click into it, and then you should be able to paste.
Oh.
Paste. Go paste.
You go,
What
you
do
can
you got
save
here?
the image for print.
You can save the images to the file.
Yeah.
Yeah, save the images.
No, like save the images. Save the images.
Save the image.
Say it again?
Save
Save
the
the
image.
images.
So, just save it. It won't save over. Oh,
Save. Yeah.
it just dropped it.
All right, why are we doing that now? It's so clumsy. Anyway, okay, that's fine. All right, so take that down here. Let's get rid of this one. And then if we go back to this one, we have the image in here. We can set it over here to the side a little bit. And then open up Photoshop, reduce the size of it, and we can drag and drop that thing. Now, what we can do is we can bring that in, we can just drag and drop it. Okay, and then what we want, the reason I put it on the desktop in a folder, it's called a bridge file. And what happens is that if you're working in two different programs, like if you're working in InDesign and Photoshop, InDesign, what they'll do is they'll speak to each other only if the same image is in a singular file. Okay, and then what you could do, we're not going to do InDesign, but what you could do is you could go ahead and be working in InDesign to organize a portfolio, and then you have images, and then you say, oh, you know, I'm going to lighten that image. I want that to be black and white. No, I want that to change the color, and you can change it in Photoshop. And when you do, when you open up InDesign, it'll say, would you like to save your changes? So you don't have to keep putting it in again. It's constantly speaking to both of them, okay? So you're creating a bridge file. Also, it's an organized way so that you don't lose your stuff. So anyway, it's a reasonable way to do it. All right, now we've got this thing in its place, okay? then it's not placed yet, it's just in here, okay? And then what's going to happen is then that we can place it. So at this point, we can do a couple of things to it, like see the little roundy things, I can turn it upside down, okay? And if I don't like that, I can hit Control Z and it goes back, one step back, okay? Then what I could do is I could also change the proportion of it. Okay, I have to remember because they just changed Photoshop again. Okay, when I do this, it will stay in proportion. See that? It stays in proportion. Old Photoshop, you had to push Shift, so you don't care. Okay, but now if I want to change the proportion, I can actually hit Shift and this, and I can change it and only like this. See that? Now I'm manipulating it. Okay, Control Z, back to where we were. Got me? Okay, now, in order to accept the image and to create a layer, you simply hit Enter. Okay? And then I just opened up my layer thing down here at the bottom. The thing that said layer. Now there's my layer. Okay? The one that's highlighted. How do I know? Because I can turn it on and turn it off with the eyeball. Got me? Now, frankly, you should never name your stuff like all that stupid shit like that, okay? You should go in there for a few seconds, open it up, and call it plans. Okay? Once you have 40 or 50 or 60 layers, numbers do not help anymore. You need to start, naming stuff. Now, what's interesting about this is that when you're stealing things from the internet, sometimes they're smart images, and they will have locks on them so that, oh, I can move the image around, I can do stuff, but then when you start doing things with them in Photoshop, they will like, oh, it won't lighten, or it won't do this. Some things will be grayed out, and you won't know why. It's because you haven't stolen it properly. Let me show you how to steal. Okay, there are 3 ways to steal. Okay, and so I'm going to go into that one, and the first thing I'm going to do is right-click on it and rasterize the layer. Do I know what rasterize means? No. But do it, okay? The other thing is, if you rasterize it, almost always it fixes it. If it doesn't fix it, what you can do, and it's very simple, then it's a little bit more secure. Then what you do is you go in and you duplicate the layer, and you're going to call it plan copy. And then what you do is you go back in and get rid of that layer, or turn it off. And you work with the copy of the layer. Sometimes copying it will also take away smart image capability. Okay? You want your images to be dumb. You don't want them smart. Okay? Because we want to manipulate it. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, simple. Now, what we're going to do is then with a plan copy like this, we'll just work with this plan, this one here. Then what we can do is we can manipulate things, okay? So now when it's highlighted, that means I can move it and I can do stuff to it, okay? The first thing we want to do here is we want to do an equal format for this, okay? And we're going to be putting a couple things in it. Each format is going to have some presence of plan or plans, section, elevation, and perspective, okay? You don't have to have 3 or 4 of every one. You can have 1 of each, but you have to have plan, section, elevation, perspective, okay? 4 things, and then you can manipulate them any way you like. Now, in this case, I'm going to do an equal organization, and which means, okay, so somebody tell me, if I were to go from 0 to 11, what is 11 divided by 3 exactly? Somebody do it on their phone or something.
3.3 repeating.
3.6.
3.6, that's 4. And since I work for the government and so it's gonna be sloppy, done. How about that? Is that good? All right, now, okay, 3.6 times 2. Spark it out. 7.2, 7.5, 7.25, 7.2-ish. About right? Okay, now, 8.5, so 4.25, right? So 4.25 would give me about right there. Did that make sense to you? I just split it into 6 fairly equal units. Now you can do this with great exactitude, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you, laying down a grid for a format is usually just the beginning because you'll have to adjust it anyway. Because when we're organizing things that are like architecture, we don't have perfect squares and rectangles and everything is a little bit different in size. So we have to learn to be a little bit flexible. So the first grid you lay out is an approximation, and then you continue to massage the approximation until it's right. Okay? I know that's a little gray, but that's the way it works. All right, now, this begins to be a fairly equal format, okay, because we've got 6 equal kind of things. All right? Now, then we've got this thing in here. Well, it just so happens that fits in there. How did I know that would work? I did not. Okay, and they fit in pretty nicely, but not nice enough. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back in here and I am going to take, this is one big image, I'm going to make them into 3 separate images so they can move them around or change them. Okay? Now right now they're one image, so anything I do to them happens all at the same time. So now I'm going to come back in, I'm in this image. I think what I'm going to do is delete that layer. Yes, and get rid of it. And then I'm going to, it says copy. I'm going to get rid of that. But I'm going to call this one Plan 1. And I will designate this as Plan 1. You could call it floor plan, whatever, you know, at second floor level, whatever. But I'm just calling it 1 for the time being. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this plan and I am going to delete these. But I don't want to delete anything permanently. In Photoshop, when we delete things, they're gone. But there's a way to mask it so that it looks gone, but it's still there. So you can get it, okay? In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a marquee tool. See that little guy right there? Marquee. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I am going to say I want to keep this image, which you could reverse it and say I want to get rid of it. I like you. Good. Then what I do is, now I always yield my listening. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll come back in here and I'm going to use this, it looks like the Japanese national flag, but it's got a red dot in it. That one right here, very pretty. See this one? That's called the mask tool. And now I'm in this plane, this layer. I'll hit the mask tool. And what it did was, I marqueed this, and the mask said, yo, you want to erase that? Well, let me tell you what. Erase it, but stick it over here. You might want it back again. Okay? And so it put it in this separate folder with this. Okay? It's there, but you can't see it. Okay? Now, I'm going to move this over again, because now I need to go back and get this thing again, because I need the other plans, and I can bring it back in, and I'm going to just hit enter, because I'm gonna place it that way. And then I'm gonna go back in here and I can do this once again. I am now going to go into this one, which we are going to call Plan 2. Okay? And then I'm going to pick up the marquee tool again, but this time I'm going to save only this one. It's snapping to that little blue line, you can go over it. Okay? And then I'm going to hit mask for this one. Okay? And now I'm in that plan, so I can do that. Now, nudge tool, you know the cursor keys? Can you hear me making movements? Okay, I'm in this one. See, I can't be in this one. I have to be in that one, right? And I should be able to move now. What? Okay, well, I can't move, sorry. Get in the move thing and look, I can do that. Now, hear me? Okay, so this is all very fine and good to do this, but it's jerky. Just get close and then, okay? It's a lot easier. Okay, so then we got that one. Okay, then if I wanted to come back in and get the third one, I can bring it back in and do that, or I could just keep a set up here and do something else. You know, so there you can see what I'm doing, right? Okay. All right, so then I can go do the other ones. Now, that's one thing. Okay, so now we've got that one. Okay, see how this one is cut. Now I could come in here and very delicately cut the edge so I don't have all that, or I can do something to it. For instance, I'm in Plan 2, and I can go into what's normal. Now I'm in Plan 2, so I'm gonna hit normal. I'm gonna go into something called multiply. Click multiply. Now, instead of being a black drawing on white paper, it is a black drawing on clear paper. See what I did? That's just one simple thing you can do. All right. Now, notice that this plan has its outline, which is right here. You see the edge of it? And then you see how this one is a little bit bigger than that? Okay, because I must have changed the proportion somewhere. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them in the same proportion. Usually the best way to do that, I've now clicked on Plan 1, I'm going to nudge it up to a guideline so that I have some place to go from, and it's on it. Okay, then I'm going to go to this one, I clicked on it. Now I've got something on here which is not showing up there. Okay, and then I'm going to bring this one up. Okay, and then wait a minute, see how they're different? Now this is where you can use guidelines. I need to make sure that works, so I'm going to bring it up there, do that guideline. See how wrong it is? Then I'm going to click this one and I'm going to say, I'd like to change your proportions. So then I'm going to do it, I'm going to transform it. So now I hit Control T. Okay? And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to make it smaller. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to make it fit between the two blue things, okay? See, that's why you use a nudge and you'll get up there because it snaps to shit, okay? Anyway, so yeah, that's an official word. Okay, now, then you've got them, now they're the same, and then once you've transformed it, you must accept it, enter. Now they're the same size. Okay, little tiny things like that, make sense? Okay, now, so we've got those kinds of things. All right. How about we go back in here, and now I'm going to take this out. I'm kind of a neat person, I just put it away. Okay, you can delete them if you want.
How did you decide where to put the bottom guideline?
Oh, because I lined up the blue guideline with the other drawing so that I know that when they go together, they should be the same distance.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Does it matter about the inches on the side?
Yep.
Okay.
Nope, I was just making sure they're the same. See, what happened was this all, remember I was moving around showing you how I could change the proportion? It kinda got out of proportion, okay? And so I just put them back in, okay? So we use guidelines to tell us, oh, I want that to fit in here, yes, and where do I want it, yes, they're very useful to you, okay? All this visual ideas of just looking is not enough, okay? Now, what we can do is, we can go back and let's go into, which one was, I think that was not working. This one, let's go back. And we're gonna go with Villa-Savoie. Elevations. Tools, tools, large only, large, beautiful. Okay, and then what we can see is, well, we got a lot of them. I mean, all four of them on there, you know, which is fine. We'll just take these instead. Oh, look. This is somebody's project. Okay. And see the four elevations, the roof plan, the lower floor plan, diagram, site plan, and that is a section there, okay? So I'm gonna go in here and I'll just click on this one and this one, save image as, I don't know why copy image doesn't work. A little bit aggravating. Okay, so elevations, and it should be saving to this. Save it there, it is now there. So I'm gonna bring that in, and we're in there, and at this point, I can just say enter, and now that big old thing is in there. All right? Very good. Now, that's too big for us to work with for the moment. T, transform. Okay, move. And there are a lot more things you can do, but we're not gonna go with it. Now, what we've got next is that we've got these elevations. I must enter to accept. And then what I'm gonna do is, how about I just pick, let's see, this one. I'm gonna pick this one. This one coordinates with this one. See the round? See the round? So I'm gonna pick that one. So I'm in that elevation, and I'm in that layer. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the marquee, and I am going to save that one. And then all I do is hit this. Now watch this. What if I want to get rid of this one and save all of those? Are you watching me? Now I'm going to right click and say select inverse. Okay, and then if I do the little, it keeps everything else. I don't like that. Control Z. Come back in, reselect inverse. Marquee, no, it's this one. Is that good? Yeah. Then, this thing is see that little selection bar? They're ants. You can get rid of them by saying Control D, deselect. Control D as in dog. Then I need to go to the move tool and move it over here. I would like, this is the outside of my building where the column is. This is where my column is, you see that? And see where the columns are? Now I'm going to use my little blue guidelines to get this to be the right size. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to click on that one again. Control T as in Timothy. And then I'm going to, while I'm in this one, I can move it and I can stick it to the side here. And if I just keep moving this way until the columns get to be there. I have to go over it a little bit. There, okay. And put my glasses on to see if it's, yeah, I'm not quite there yet. A little bit more. I'm gonna bump it a little bit less. And then nudge it, and I'm about on it, okay? Now, I can hit accept. Now I know that this elevation and this plan are the same size, right? Does that make sense? See how I'm manipulating it? Okay, so now, by manipulating it, look, I have a new guideline, and a new guideline here, perhaps, okay? And then maybe I'm looking at, maybe I want an object here, and a thing here, and a thing here, and then I wanna do something else here. So maybe what I do is I come back in and say, my space is here, building is here, space is here, but look, that space is there. So maybe I come back in. You see how I just started to get a basic organization, and now I'm beginning to break it up and develop it, okay? Now, which means this, if I were to have really, see, I could never have known it, would really be there. Right on. There's a way of nudging those too. Okay, look at that. See that? Okay. Now I've got that kind of thing. So maybe it would make a lot of sense to put that there and to put that there. Right? Now I know where my next drawing will go. See, so it's a relationship between the objects and the structure, and you're always massaging both of them. Okay. At this point, this is quite a distance from this, okay? And also, but they are related to each other, okay? All right. Now, plan section, we got all that going, okay. Then maybe what we do is we could reverse this, okay? What if I bring this image, this thing down, and this thing up? See, now that we are organizing things in with a common denominator, we can move things around. Otherwise, you're just scrapbooking. And it's illogical and it's unnecessary because it's disorganized. Okay? Now, so here we have something like that. Okay, let's go back in here and let's get, we've got a plan, we've got a elevation, we could have more elevations, and then maybe we could get a section, okay? So let's go back in here, and we're gonna go back here. Okay, now, this one, I'm gonna go get a, how about we get section drawing. It's still on large, so that's very good. It has two section drawings there. So we have two, so that's pretty good size. So we could do that. And we could save image as, and we'll be putting it in there, but we'll call it sections. Save it in there. Should be good. Sections. Bring it in there, of course. And now it's pretty big. Okay, so I'm going to just reduce it first off, and then I'll accept it, and I'll move it over here for a little bit. Okay, and I can start beginning to think about how I might coordinate this thing a little bit better. Okay, now what we can do is we can get rid of this one. Let's just pick one. Let's pick this one here, which looks like it's through the ramps, okay, that are in there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and, while I'm in that section one, let me marquee it, and, oh, I think I'll take that. And, yeah, that's fine.
and then I'll do that, okay? Deselect, get back in the move tool, move around. Okay, then the last thing we want to get would be a perspective. There's a wood. And that's pretty nice. Let's pick that. And we'll save that one. Okay. Move it big. And there it is. All right, and now we've got that in there. All right, so we're starting to get all the components we pretty much need, okay? And now, one thing I have to remember is section, I didn't rasterize it. Elevations, I didn't rasterize it. Plans, it is rasterized, I'm gonna rasterize that one. And my perspectives, I gotta rasterize. Don't worry, if you forget to do that, it'll stop being capable, and you just go back and do it. Okay, you'll see everything's grayed out, and then you fix it later. It's not like it's impossible to fix later, okay? It's not the first thing you have to do. Okay, so here now we're starting to get some sort of, semblance of these different things that are going on in here. And so we have this kind of thing. So now what we have is an opportunity to create plan section and elevation, and we want to coordinate all of these things, okay? Notice that this thing is covering that up. Remember what I could do with a perspective? Take normal, go to multiply, because I'm using black and white images. If it's color, it works as well, but it's a little bit different. See, look at it now. Okay. Here we have that. So I'm going to just move that over. Pick that up. Move that up. All right, and now I've got that image, this image. Maybe what I do is I pick that image up. I think my organization should be there. And then this image, now look at what I've got going here. I've got this image, I've got something going on here. Notice that this line is right about there. And then what I can do is, I don't know if I really need this other plan. That's plan 2, I think, yeah. So I don't have to get rid of it. You can start it off, you know. And then this image here, this section, maybe I take and pick this image up and arrange it here, but then now I'm gonna need like, these are gonna have to be more strategic, like that. And I need some border over here, which means I probably need that over here, and then that. I'm clicking on it, so I can move that over. See the organization of that? It looks to me like this could be a great drawing between these to create kind of an L. See how I'm starting to organize? Start to think about how I'm dealing with things, and then I could come back in here, and again, if this is the, you would want them to be pretty much the same scale. Control T, okay. Got me because of the length of that. Enter, and look at how I'm starting to get a rhythm that's going here. Now, if I'm there, I might come up to that blue line. You see that? And then down here, I might come down. But then I might say to myself, maybe I want to go ahead and have an organization, which is an equal set here. Bottom of line. You see, it's approximation. See how it snaps, Mr. O snap? Okay, it's not really O snap. It is.
Yeah, no, I got you. That was-
I thought that was an expression like O snap, you know? Okay, so you see how it's not snapping nicely? Watch this. Okay, I have to remember how to zoom. Zooming. I think it's Alt, wheel. Alt, wheel. Now watch me snap to that. Okay? If you get closer, it'll snap nicer. Get farther away, it won't snap. Okay? Control, Alt, and it zooms in and out. Okay? Now, so we've got all that. So then I'm gonna grab one of these, bring it down like this. See that one, see that one, see that one. See how they're starting to kind of congregate, all the same scale? Okay, got a little title going on here, a little title action. Okay, it's good. Now, we want to be very careful of doing something. This is the perspective. We control key. Oh, that doesn't fit. How about if I stretch it? Okay. See, it's stretching, and that's okay, right? Because it's changing the size of it, but it's staying in proportion. But if I do this and say, oh, how about if I just stretch my building like this? There's a point with buildings that it's just not appropriate to do, okay? Because, you know, you could say, like I could say, you know, I'm not overweight, I'm just not tall enough, you know? It just bring me up. So basically, you're lying too much. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So, don't do that, all right? What you can do is you could get rid of those letters if you don't like them, because we can add them in here.